Hey there, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we have from Franz Ferdinand, The Human Fear. I get the odd feeling that I should be able to describe and contextualize this band better, especially as an indie rock band that I really like. Now granted, I've been saying that for about a decade, that Franz Ferdinand kind of resist analysis. They make bouncy, kinetic indie rock with a deliberate eye to the past, and they've always been sharp and literate and saying a little bit more than you might expect on the initial read. But they've also been around for about 20 years, and I feel like they've straddled the midpoint between consistent, but not exactly groundbreaking post-punk revival indie rock, and the wilder experimentation that might miss more often but lands greater rewards. Their collaboration with Sparks really illuminated that dichotomy. But they've also slowed down in multiple ways. Not only have the tempos felt more deliberate, this is their first album in 7 years. And I remember saying when I reviewed Always Ascending in 2018 that the project felt transitional, going for a more pronounced synth-back dance groove, and in retrospect, I was probably trying to give that album more credit than it deserved. It's kind of really cooled on me. Now, this reunites them with their producer Mark Ralph from Right Thoughts, Right Words, Right Action, probably their strangest and silliest album, and easily one of my favorites of 2013, and reportedly was exploring a search for our humanity amidst all of our fears, and I'm of several minds on it. On the one hand, it continues the arc of Always Ascending, and having a slightly slower and more deliberate tempo, with Alex Kapranos leaning into his theatrical, old-school showman instincts, his voice only continuing to pleasantly deepen and pick up some raspiness around the edges. And say what you will about any stylistic diversion, Franz Ferdinand will knock a killer lead guitar melody out of the park, like the surf rock edges on Build It Up, or the impressive dramatic flourishes on Tell Me I Should Stay, echoed off that piano line, or the great guitar lick of Cats that reminded me a lot of early Temples. But with the swerve away from a more pronounced synth-driven dance edge, this also feels like Franz Ferdinand's most backwards-looking and respectable album to date. I made the Temples comparison already as another UK-based throwback act, but it's also down to the Beatles-esque vocal layering of the hook on Tell Me I Should Stay. Maybe even a little back to basics to the point where Bar Lonely is a very obvious vintage rock and roll throwback, and their closing track The Birds feels like the B-side to Take Me Out. It's meat and potatoes indie rock. And look, Franz Ferdinand albums had a ribald, borderline sleazy intensity, and one of the reasons I loved Right Thoughts, Right Words, Right Action so much was taking that energy into stranger territory. The Human Fear has more verb than Always Ascending, the breathy vamping off the bass of Everydaydreamer, the weedy squonking swagger of Hooked, the swaggering faux noir of Night or Day, where I really like those staccato keys, although Black Eyelashes sounds so metallic and compressed with those painfully tinny acoustics, then paired with all the farty bass. But this album never feels challenging or goes off the rails in a potent way, and for an album all about living through fear, finding that vibrant spark of humanity, it's kinda weird how this album never goes for broke. Now, Franz Ferdinand, they are smart enough to frame these songs with some messy moral ambiguity. I like the kooky and upbeat The Doctor for as this demented plea for institutionalization in order to escape one's fears of the outside, or how Build It Up is the desperate last-ditch swing to reinforce a relationship that's really not there, showing no real fear to talk about things, but all the fear in the world to actually break up and move on. Cats uses the titular animal to highlight those set in their ways and comfortable, and questions how possible it would even be to push them outside of it. And Black Eyelashes takes us to Greece, where our narrator goes off chasing and then thoroughly embarrasses himself. It might be why he's trying to drive out all those old memories in the misery of Bar Lonely. But it feels like there's little deeper insight or flair in the writing, where every slight flourish is a little bit too poised and calculated, deliver the sharp songs and hooks for crisp entertainment, but not exactly going further into the roots of those fears, or any factors that might really challenge the entertainment, where it feels less like it's resisting analysis and more that there should be a lot more going on. And that leaves me in a tough place with The Human Fear. It's a very likable indie rock album that certainly doesn't feel like the band's worst. I like it more than Always Ascending, at least. But in the spirit of the album, I think there was a part of me that was scared to take off the kid gloves and be as hard as I should have been on Always Ascending. And 7 years later, for a band already carrying themselves like elder statesmen, I expect more and I expect better. Not saying it's bad by any means. Franz Ferdinand have way too high a floor, and songs like Hooked, Cats, Build It Up, and especially Tell Me I Should Stay, they've got that polish and killer melodic flair I do love. But all those songs could have been on any other Franz Ferdinand album the past 20 years and they would have worked. Whereas this just feels kind of rather anonymous. An easy listen is going to please the fans, but not go an inch further. Yes, I know, an easy album to like. I had a lot of fun with it. But after this long a wait, and the high expectations that this band's earned, I want to like this a lot more. It's very good, but not great. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please be sure to like, share, drop comments, subscribe. I gotta be honest, I kind of sat on this for a while. I really wanted to love this, and ultimately it came around, especially going through the lyrics. I just didn't as much as I wanted. And kind of a shame, because I think the idea behind it and that sense of optimism can be so compelling, and it should have gone further. I'll say it. Beyond that, though, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And if y'all want to get involved in helping support the channel, YouTube memberships, Patreon, where you also get options to get albums on my schedule, or just yell at me on my Discord. Once again, don't feel obligated. Tough times, I understand, but the option's available. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.